We're simply moving around the house now and cleaning up the little bits that we need to clean up. And we can see that in the foyer, I need to put some gypsum board here, just like I put on the edge of the bridge here. So if we go back to the first floor plan and move this section down to where I know that's occurring, we'll go to that view. And then let's take a look at, this is the foyer. And here you can, I'll change it to realistic. It'll make a little bit more sense maybe. Yeah, you see I have the gypsum board here and I have the gypsum board here, but I don't have the gypsum board here. And I need, so what we're seeing right now is the face of this 2x12, and we want to cover that up with gypsum board. And I can see from this section that I also need to cover this part up with gypsum board, but one thing at a time. So I know we're going to need to have a plane when I put in a component and model it in place. This is really a wall now, so we'll call it a wall. And we're going to create an extrusion, and the first thing Revit says is we'll pick a plane. So I'm going to say okay and see if I can pick this plane, and sure enough I can. So now Revit knows that on this plane right here, that's going to be my start point. And so we're going to say, again, I'm just going to use the -1 foot and 1 foot. The gypsum wall board is okay. And then come in and draw the perimeter of the extrusion, which will go from here all the way down to here. I'll say okay to that. And let's take a look at this section now. When we get to that section, we'll say okay to it. And then we're going to go to this section. And I was just checking my depth of field, and it certainly is deep enough, but I don't need to go that far. Let's go to this section. And again, we can see that little piece that I put in there, right here. And here's the plane. I said go a foot beyond that plane in the negative direction and go beyond that plane in the positive direction, because I know I can just drag it over. And I can drag it over. And so if we take a look at that in realistic, you can see what I just put in. I just added some more gypsum board there. So looks like we have something strange happening right there. But let's go back to our 3D view. And we'll take a picture. We'll go put the camera in there and take a picture. So I'm going to grab the camera. I'm going to put that camera right here because I want to see. I believe I just put that gypsum board in there. Sure enough, there it is. Looks like we still have a gap there. So I'll go back to that section. And it's section 1. And let's take a look here. Yeah, this wall only goes up to here. But I actually want that wall to go up to here. So now when we go back to that new 3D view, we'll see there's no gap there any longer. Okay, so let me click outside of it so nothing is highlighted, and you can see, change it to realistic and you'll be able to see what I just did much better. See, now we don't have that exposed 2x12, and I have to do the same thing over here now. I have to put some gypsum board over there. So we'll go back to the first floor plan, and I'm going to take this section right here, and I'm going to drag it all the way over to there. So now we're cutting through what I believe to be that spot. We'll go to the view. We're going to zoom in, which is right here, and we're looking for that gypsum board in this location goes all the way up. So I'm going to go back to the first floor, and I'm going to move this guy over some more because I know that there's a need to put some gypsum board in there. And here it is. I think, yeah, that should be the wall that we're concerned about. And I want to put some let's go back to the first floor and let's move that back just a bit. Let's move it back just to right there and go to that view and see what it looks like. I have continuous. So back to the 3D view. This is the spot right here that I'm trying to cover up. So when I cut a section through here, just on this side of it, I see the gypsum board going all the way. So let's do a little trick here. I don't need this 3D view. And section 4, this is where I want to put the gypsum board. So I'm going to put it right there. Architecture, component, model in place. It's a wall. And I'm going to put it where I'm pretty sure it belongs right here. All right, so let's do that. We're going to do an extrusion. Revit says, tell me the plane you're going to start from. I'm going to try to pick this wall as the plane. If it won't let me pick any of these walls, and I'm having trouble picking that plane, so I'm going to X out of that, go back to the first floor, and I'm going to actually make a plane. So what I'm trying to do is put a plane right here. So I've added a reference plane to my quick action toolbar by simply saying architecture reference plane and right clicking and saying add to the quick access toolbar. So I've already added it, so there it is. So I'm going to grab here and I'm just going to put a plane right here and I'll give it a name. Call it the foyer wall. So now when I go back to this section, I was trying to pick the foyer wall, but it wasn't letting me. So I'm going to put in an extrusion component, model in place. It's a wall. Say okay. And I'm going to make an extrusion. It says pick a plane. I wasn't able to, so I'll come over here and we're going to look for the foyer wall. There it is right there. So now we've picked the plane, and I'm going to change the length of that to 10 feet in both directions. So it's going to extend 10 feet beyond and 10 feet in front of the point that I'm going to draw right now. And I know from experience where that is, and it's going to line up right here. So I'll just put that right here. Whoops, I'm going to draw a rectangle, so I'll put it right here. Whoops. I'm going to draw a rectangle and put it right here down to right here and say okay. And say okay. And so now let's go to the section. I'm going to flip this guy and go look at it. Go to the view, zoom out, and it was right over here. And now when I click on it, look what happens here. It extends 10 feet beyond the reference plane and 10 feet in front of the reference plane. And I can simply zoom back here until I can see where it needs to be, and it needs to go to right there. Then I'll grab this end of it with this grip and bring it back to right there. So let's see our 3D view now. Sure enough, I put a piece of gypsum board right there, and you can see it. So we cleaned that up. So you can see now, we looked at this, we said, hey, there's a problem here. I solved this gypsum board problem, and then I went in and solved this one too. And I did it in a rather rough fashion. but it worked. So now when you look at the foyer, you can see that the gypsum board is all nice and clean there.